Let me just start off by saying I want to make this video as short, simple, and painless as possible. Nickelodeon has made a lot of fine shows they had back in the day. Drake and Josh, The Amanda Show, Zoey 101, iCarly, Victorious, Big Time Rush, you name it. But for some reason, Nickelodeon felt the need to make this show, Sam and Cat, which apparently was a spin-off of iCarly and Victorious, with Jeanette McCurdy and Ariana Grande playing the respective characters. This was a show that nobody really saw coming, but if you are a Nickelodeon fan, you've seen it once or at least heard of it. The show was about Sam and Cat starting a babysitting service and getting into all sort of wacky antics. The show was trying to get the glory and was trying to mooch off of iCarly and Victorious, but they failed miserably. The first point that comes across to anyone who watches this show is the characters. In iCarly, Sam was a funny character. She was abrasive, but she was funny. She was comical. Her presence was comical. But in the show, she basically goes from a lovable tomboy to someone who is really just a jerk. In iCarly, she had these traits. She would pick on Freddie before they started dating. Major spoiler alert. But she was at least a funny character. In this show, she's just not good. The same can be said for Ariana Grande's character, who played Cat in Victorious. She had always been a little ditzy. She always sort of played that role, but it became much more noticeable in this series than it had been in Victorious. They watered down the characters so much that even though it's a spin-off, it really doesn't feel like the same show. And that's one of the things that didn't really work out for this series. The show was apparently only on the air for one season because the stars did not get along on set. Hence why there were only 35 episodes in the first season alone. And this is something that's common in Nickelodeon shows from the late 2010s to the early 2020s. Just take Warped, for example. I Am Frankie. Shows like that. Shows like Cousins for Life. The Fairly Odd Parents, Fairly Odder. This show wasn't really bound to last. Let me just say that I have nothing against anyone who likes this show or who is a fan of this show. Everyone is free to have their own opinion. But for me, it just didn't cut it. I remember watching the final scene of iCarly, where all the memories come together and Freddie speaks the final lines of the series. It was a really emotional moment that was kind of ruined by this series for me. This series was basically just trying to cash in on its predecessors, and it didn't really do a good job at that. The show was not always believable either. Not that iCarly or Drake and Josh were any different. But this show is definitely not Nickelodeon's most memorable show. One good thing that came out of this show was the iCarly crossover and Victorious crossover that they did with Elizabeth Gillies and Nathan Kress. That was the one episode that really sort of saved this series from just being an utter failure. Couldn't save it enough, but it was one thing that they did get right, because it was a throwback to iCarly and Victorious. But this show was really only an idea because of the previous shows that existed already that didn't really need to be made in the first place. The characters were watered down so much. They weren't even likable anymore. Hardly anything on the show was believable aside from the babysitting aspect. Just watch some of the episodes, and they have even spoken out about how they were treated and how they managed the series. Ariana Grande and Jeanette McCurdy have both spoken out about this series, which may explain why they didn't get along and why the show was only on air for one season. I think to conclude this video, I would say that this show was one of many Nickelodeon shows that sort of proved that they ran out of ideas. And iCarly and Victorious were enough to satisfy us. They were shows that we enjoyed back in the day. But because of their success, Nickelodeon wanted to cash in and make this show. So, yeah, that's the end of this video. I hope you like this video. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my channel for daily updates. Thanks for watching. Bye.